And what do you find? More. Peel some more, and you find more. Peel yet some more beyond that crusty core that protected the vegetable from the earth, and what do you find? More. Get to the very core of it, and what do you find? More onion. You might want to think twice before shaking my hand up. Each layer is undiminished. It's small. Oniony, onionescitude. Onion through and through. And I asked today, if we peeled back our layers, what would we find? The poet Wislawa Szymborska describes the difference between an onion and a person. The onion, now that's something else. Its innards don't exist. Nothing but pure onionhood fills this devout onionist. Oniony on the inside, onionesque it appears. It follows its own daemonion without our human tears. Our skin is just a cover-up for the land where none dare to go. An internal inferno, an anathema of anatomy. In an onion, there's only onion, from its top to its toe. Unanimous monomania, unanimous omninudity. At peace, of a peace, internally at rest. Inside it, there's a smaller one of undiminished worth. The second holds a third one, the third contains a fourth, a centripetal fugue, polyphony compressed. Nature's rotundest tummy, its greatest success story. The onion drapes itself in its own aureoles of glory. We hold veins, nerves, and fat, secretions, secret sections. Not for us such idiotic, onionoid perfections. What? Okay, translated. The poem observes that the onion is simple. It's perfectly consistent. Look through the layers and you will find just more onion. But people are more complex. Our skin and senses and nerves and blood and guts do not predict that herein, somewhere, somehow, consciousness exists for self-expression. Herein, a core of being yearns to create. Herein, memory breathes the beat of past connections. Herein, a soul whispers to be heard. Peel back the layers of an onion and you find
more onion.
More onion. But what is our essential selfhood? Who were we, or who could we be if we took away all of our practiced costuming and posturing, our habits born of fear or of shame, of borrowed expectations, of cultural overlay? How do we stop hiding from ourselves and from one another? How can we learn to live lives of integrity, of acknowledging fully our gifts and potential and celebrating the worth and dignity of all persons, and trusting in that knowledge. Throughout this liturgical year, we will be exploring in this congregation how to live with integrity. This fall, the congregation reads Brene Brown's book, The Gifts of Imperfection. In it, she presents 10 guideposts for living a wholehearted life, with practical challenges to dig deep in order to become more grounded, more positive, more connected to ourselves and to one another. And this is the very season to begin considering these themes. Last week, Jews celebrated the Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah, which starts a 10-day period ending with Yom Kippur. That will be Tuesday night. In the Jewish tradition, God opens the book of life at this time, reviewing the fate of the free and inscribing those fates for the coming year. But understand that the book is not set. The script can be changed. And it is in this 10-day period, these days of awe, that we are invited to consider how we have spent the past year and then determine how we might resolve to spend the coming year. During this period, the spiritual practice of repentance and reconciliation are paramount. And this is no vicarious atonement practice. Thinking about it is not the same as acting on it. God, says the Jewish tradition, has the power to forgive transgressions against the Almighty himself, but only people can forgive other people. The days of awe are a time to reflect on how we have acted, how we will do differently in the future. It's a time for self-evaluation and redirection. Not to nitpick over our imperfections, but rather to acknowledge that we have room to grow, much to learn, chances to change. This is a time to get real with ourselves and get right with others. A modern midrash by Rabbi Sharon Rose says, cleaning up our homes often involves sweeping the floors, scrubbing the countertops, tossing the clothing into closets before the guests arrive. Rarely do we get down on our hands and knees and clean up the hard-to-reach layers of schmutz. Yom Kippur is a day of spiritual and moral deep cleansing. A day for us to begin to work through our own layers of schmutz. Yom Kippur gives us a chance to wipe the slate clean, peel back the layers, examine our essential nature. Whatever our history, whatever our habits and patterns that no longer serve us well, we have the hope of transformation. Rabbi Simon Jacobson, speaking about Yom Kippur, says, allow me to share one of the most important lessons I have taken from the single holiest day of the year. To get beyond your own perceptions, expunge all judgment, and see the majesty in every soul's journey. He says, I meet many people. A number of them come to me for personal advice and counseling. I learned that one thing above all allows one the confidence to offer help and to always have a positive outlook. And that is to always look beyond the surface and see the beautiful soul in each person. Even before you begin speaking and interacting, seeking out the pure and innocent dimension in the individual sitting before you, and making it your mission to do everything in your power to help that person recognize and access that force in his or her life. This is how I was trained by my mentor to travel beneath the outer shrouds and seek out the inner core of each individual we encounter. Imagine what our lives would be like were we to look at each other in this fashion, seeking out the best within every soul we meet, recognizing the best within our own souls. With such an attitude, imagine that the world could be like. We must live in the layers, not on the litter. So wrote American poet Stanley Kunitz. The poet, at a transitional point in his life and career, grieving the loss of a number of friends and colleagues, in his late 70s, awoke with these words in his mind, given to him in a dream from a cloud of insight that spoke to him, urging him on. Live in the layers, not on the litter. In his resulting poem, The Layers, Kunitz describes a turning point in his life, describes the lure of the past, that seduction of staying transfixed by what was, by what used to be. Recognizing the futility of sacrificing the present on the altar of the past, Kunitz vows to attend to his present, precious path. With every step, he realizes he can create new possibilities, make new memories. He can begin again. Kunitz writes, I have walked through many lives, some of them my own, and I am not who I was, though some principle of being abides from which I struggle not to stray. When I look behind, as I am compelled to look, before I can gather strength to proceed on my journey, I see the milestones dwindling toward the horizon, and the slow fires trailing from the abandoned campsites over which scavenger angels wheel on heavy wings. Oh, I have made myself a tribe out of my true affections, and my tribe is scattered. How shall the heart be reconciled to its feast of losses? In a rising wind, the manic dust of my friends, those who fell along the way, bitterly stings my face. Yet I turn, exulting somewhat, with my will intact to go wherever I need to go, and every stone on the road precious to me. In my darkest night, when the moon was covered and I roamed through wreckage, a nimbus-clouded voice directed me. Live in the layers, not on the litter. Though I lack the art to decipher it, no doubt the next chapter in my book of transformations is already written. I am not done with my changes. Live in the layers, not on the litter, the poet urges. Remember the onion? Every layer is equally important as the next. If you discard every layer and use only the core, you are wasting so much onionosity. Live in the layers, not on the litter. The thin sheath around the onion protected the vegetable underground. It served its purpose, and once harvested, that part is litter, it's refuse, it's ready for compost. Live in the layers, he says, not on the litter. In the layers is engagement and purpose and connection. And it's messy, but it's real. And what lies in those layers? In describing the litter of past regrets, of loss, rejection, of fear, of anxiety, the poet observes he could choose to let himself be defined by the grief and the glory of what was. But he has the wisdom to choose to treat each new day as a new layer, to accept the reality of the pain, but to continue to move toward life, more to live, more to give. Kunitz is describing the quality of resilience. The author Brene Brown describes resilience as one of her 10 guideposts to living a wholehearted life. Resilience is the bounce back factor. Here's what she writes. Resilience, the ability to overcome adversity, has been a growing topic of study since the early 1970s. In a world plagued by stress and struggle, everyone from psychologists, psychiatrists, and social workers to clergy and criminal justice researchers want to know why and how some folks are better at bouncing back from hardship than others. We want to understand why some people can cope with stress and trauma in a way that allows them to move forward in their lives, and why other people appear more effective and stuck. As I collected and analyzed my data, I recognized that many of the people I interviewed were describing stories of resilience. I heard stories about people cultivating wholehearted lives despite adversity. I learned about people's capacities to stay mindful and authentic under great stress and anxiety. And I heard people describe how they were able to transform trauma into wholehearted thriving. It wasn't difficult to recognize these stories as tales of resilience because I was in graduate school during the heyday of resilience research. I knew these narratives were threaded with what we call protective factors, the things we do, have, and practice that give us bounce. If you look at the current research, here are the 5 most common factors of resilient people. They are resourceful and have good problem-solving skills. They are more likely to seek help. They hold the belief that they can do something that will help them manage their feelings and to cope. They have social support available to them, and they are connected with others, such as friends, family, or congregation. When Brene Brown researched the distinctive qualities of resilient people, she, as a researcher, as a scientist, was surprised, even somewhat disquieted in her scientific mindset to discover that without exception, what resilient people had in common was spirituality, the belief in connection, a power to know that what we do matters. Interconnections grounded in love and compassion. That emerged as a key component of resilience. She qualifies, some worshipped at fishing holes, others in temples, mosques, or at home. Some struggled with the idea of religion. Others were devout members of organized religions. But the one thing they all had in common is that spirituality is a foundation of resilience. And from that foundation of spirituality, 3 other patterns emerge as being essential to resilience. Cultivating hope, practicing critical awareness, and letting go of numbing and taking the edge off vulnerability, discomfort, and pain. Hope, critical awareness, and steering into, not out of the pain. It's counterintuitive, isn't it? You stay aware of the pain in order to move through the pain and discomfort. And it is that last one, that letting go of numbing, of going ahead and accepting the pain, being aware of what's happening in your life, steering into it. That is the invitation of Yom Kippur. This is the wisdom of living in the layers, not on the litter. To lead a more resilient life, happier lives, means to be willing to fully engage with life's pain, disappointment, and grief. Of numbing the pain, Brene Brown says, when I interviewed the participants who I would describe as living a wholehearted life, they consistently talked about trying to feel the feelings, staying mindful about numbing behaviors, too much Facebook, too much alcohol, too much entertainment, distraction. They talked about instead trying to lean into the discomfort of hard emotions. She says, in another very unexpected discovery, my research also taught me that there's no such thing as selective emotional numbing. There is a full spectrum of human emotions, and when we numb the dark, we numb the light. We must live in the layers, not on the litter. Rachel Berenblatt, who blogs as the Velveteen Rabbi, the Velveteen Rabbi. She writes, embrace the different layers of your story. Embrace all the different selves you have been and will be. Open your heart to the you of childhood, the you of young adulthood, the you of maturity, the you of old age. Don't take the path of living on the litter, on the trash heap of the broken aspirations you've discarded. We must go deeper than that.